Good morning. Welcome to Monster Guitars. I have a fair bit of, well, I was going to say I have a fair bit of downtime. I don't really, as I'll shortly explain. I have a lot of time where I'm waiting for parts or tools or something so that I can continue with projects. And what I tend to do when I'm waiting is start another project. So this one's been sitting around for a while. It's something that I just started while I was waiting for parts for things, and then they arrived and I continued with those. Metal aficionados everywhere will recognize that shape immediately. It's not exactly the same. There are a couple of very subtle differences, but basically it is the shape of a guitar made by a very famous manufacturer associated with heavy metal designs. Should we say it? Should I say the name? Is that going to create legal trouble for me? You probably know what it is. But I figured, why not? Why not? I'll make one. Just one. Because I can. The wood's really nice. It's called Australian oak, which I've used before on the top of a neck through Telecaster that kind of went wrong. It was an early guitar of mine. But I think I can redeem that. But more back on track. It's called Australian oak. It's got a very straight grain across the top and back. And the end grain looks great. I really like that. That's going to have to remain visible. That's cool. I have some thoughts already about how I'm going to design this. So I'll just do it. So I've made the neck blank. I've gone with a 5-piece. That looks nice. I mean, there is something nice and elegant about a 1-piece neck, but I do like stripes. And I've cut this at a 15-degree angle. And I'm going to go in for the scarf joint. I really want to try and line those up properly. Of course, you won't see that alignment because it'll be under the fretboard, but on the back, where the volute is, you will see the alignment, and I'd like it to be, it's not a part of the guitar you'll really be looking at much, but I would like it to be perfect. So let's try and do that, shall we? Well, that scarf joint was quite successful. Happy with that. Okay, it's time to route the truss rod channel. It's a slightly different setup from what I've used in the past. Looking for ways that work, and this seems like it should. Right, let's do this. A little bit deeper. All right, it's kind of early afternoon now. I'll unclamp that this evening, take a look at it, and let's hope for the best. Well, the gluing of the fretboard seems to have gone well, but then I did something, well, it wasn't something stupid in principle. It was a fine idea, but I didn't execute it well. There have to be some curves in there. So I thought, well, I've got a hole saw blade. Why don't I just put the hole saw on my drill and then cut a circle out there, thereby cutting those curves out, which is a fine idea. It worked well, but on the second side where I did it, the hole saw, that part of the hole saw was too close to the fretboard, and I've damaged the edge of the binding there. So I'm going to have to repair that. Just a very small piece, but I didn't want to do any repairs there. Okay, it's manageable. So that is repaired. I peeled the binding back to just beyond the damage, snipped it off, cut out a new piece, and using acetone both to join the two pieces of binding together and to join the new piece to the fretboard, I repaired it. Hopefully when things are scraped up and the fretboard is sanded to a radius, that'll all be unnoticeable. I wish I hadn't done that. Carelessness. Oh well. I'll let the remaining bits of surface glue fully cure and then I'll cut the neck out. So I've got the, this is the cap to my acetone bottle, and I'm using it because I know that it doesn't dissolve in acetone. And what I'm doing is utilizing a technique that I saw on YouTube actually, being demonstrated by Ken from Boudreaux Guitars. And I'm just chopping up some little bits of binding material. So there are just a few little bits in there, as well as a piece of wood dust which I want to get rid of. And now I want to put in just a little bit of the acetone. And acetone doing what it does, that will largely melt those little pieces into a paste if this works as I expect it to. So I'm going to leave that sitting there for a bit, and I'll come back and I'll give it 15 minutes or so and then just see the state of it then, and we'll proceed. So I think I put a little bit too much acetone in, but there are a few soft blobs still that I can fish out and use, so I'll do that now. It doesn't even have to be done in a pretty way, because this is, all that wood is going to be carved away, and all this surface of the fretboard is going to be sanded down when I radius things. So this is really the time to do messy repairs, when you're going to be fixing things up later. So I'm just coating it on really, and pressing it down a bit firmly so that it will seep into any open gaps that are there. And, I could keep pretending that I'm making further progress, but I think that's about all I need to do. So I'm just going to leave it. I'll leave that overnight, and I'll dispose of this mess. It is the following morning, and I have coffee. And that repair, that soup of acetone and binding material that I used to make a paste, is now as hard as a rock. Well, as hard as the rest of the binding anyway, which is cool. I've made a pretty big blob on this, so I'm just going to file it down a little. I can just faintly see that line. So my problem, I guess, is that the line wasn't really a huge indentation, it was a discoloration. So maybe there's a limited amount I can do about it, but I've done everything that's necessary to ensure that at least the surface is flat. So if you are the person who ends up owning this guitar and you're watching this, That's a really solid repair, trust me. I mean, it's a really solid piece of binding. There's no way that that's fragile or going to break, but you can still see the line. I hoped you wouldn't be able to, but such is life. Such is life. Okay. Structural integrity ensured anyway. Alright, so I cut the neck out ever so slightly oversized, which is the right thing to do. And now I'm going to use my chemically polished file just to shave it back to the line that I drew. So that the tenon, that's the part of the neck that glues into the guitar, is the same width as the widest point of the fretboard. I have to say, a chemically polished file like this, I have a curved one as well, but the flat one in particular is becoming such a favorite tool of mine. It's very precise. Oops, let's tighten that up a bit. That's good enough for me. And now the other side. I can't stress enough how much I like this tool now. That surface is reflecting light. That's like a planed surface. A chemically polished file doesn't have just the abrasive rows that a normal file has. Each one of those little objects that you can see there is like a miniature planer blade. And that's the way that it handles wood. It shaves, each one of those little blades shaves wood. So you get a very, very smooth finish. Like that. Not that, but that doesn't matter. That will be invisible. I'm not being super ultra precise just at the moment, although I suppose more or less. I'm just clamping the neck onto the body and sketching on some of the basic dimensions so I know what I'm dealing with. So it's 24 3/4 inch scale. I won't do the final bridge placement until the neck is on, but this is just so that I know kind of where it's going to be as I map things out. Rough nominal scale length line, and I might where the 24th fret will fall. So what am I going to want? I'm going to have two pickups, so there'll be one there-ish, one there-ish. So I'm going to want to cut the end of the neck a little bit shorter because I want the neck tenon to end inside a pickup cavity. That's kind of an easy way to do things, so I'll cut that there. Right, that's all I need for now. Yes. Right, the basics are drawn out, and I've got the neck sitting in the body in a very shallow cavity, which I will finish at a later point. So this video was really just to get all the basic decisions out of the way and get a good idea of what we're dealing with. So we've got a body. You didn't see me making the body. I made it ages ago. We've got a neck. We've got our dimensions. It's a 24 3/4 inch scale. Along the way, I did a little piece of binding repair. But in the next video is where things will start to get a little bit interesting. So stay tuned.